So the organizer told me that we can get started, so we not get late, like pushing behind. Yeah. So please. Yeah.
Okay. So hello, I'm Carla Cosenza.
And I'm Tobias Heineken.
And we're both part of the organizing committee of the Small Size League of RoboCupSoccer, also known as SSL. And today we will be presenting our league, how it works, and what you can expect to see in this year's RoboCup in Thailand. So what is the SSL? So just like all leagues in RoboCup, our league has a specific problem that we want to solve in order to help the RoboCup organization reach the goal of having a team of robots capable of winning against the human soccer world champions by 2050. The small size league specifically focuses on the problem of intelligent multi-agent cooperation and controlling a highly dynamic environment with a hybrid centralized distributed system. So the multi-agent fact is that all of the robots, they should play as a team. They have to cooperate to reach the big objective of winning the match and not having individual success. The highly dynamic environment is a soccer game itself, because in order to take a decision, you have to take into account everything that's happening in the field. That means the moving enemy robots and the moving ball, which makes the environment very dynamic. And the hybrid centralized distributed system is due to how the SSL software works, which we will talk about later.
So, what to expect when you just go to the SSL on RoboCup and want to see a match? Well, there are actually two kinds of matches. We can have a smaller field, which is the Division B, the field of size 9 meters by 6 meters, where 6 team-built robots are going to compete against each other on a kind of smaller field. Or you can have the double-sized field, which is 12 meters by 9 meters, where 11 robots, which is exactly this number of players in Human Soccer 2, will be competing. There's also a small difference in the rules to adjust for these different sized fields, and also to offer an easier entrance into our league. Division B has the automatic referee turned down a bit. So the human referee who's on the field for each of these matches will have to do more on a Division B match and will, well, be more in a supervising role in a Division A match. So now we can see here a picture how one of these fields looks. This is a Division A field. It's a double-sized field. This picture has been taken in 2018 in Montreal. And that's a Division B field. It's a bit smaller. It's exactly half the size. And you can see 6 robots competing here. So one of the more interesting questions is, why do we actually have 2 divisions? The interesting part in the SSL is we want to develop some kind of intelligence for a soccer team. And soccer, or at least human soccer, does have 11 players. So it's kind of natural to tend towards wanting to play with 11 robots. That would be the best representation of 11 human players too. However, building a robot is expensive. It's about 3,000 euros in parts without assembling costs to buy all the parts needed to build one robot. So to develop 11 robots is going to be even more expensive, and you don't really want to have just 11 robots if you're competing with 11 robots on the field at all time. You always want some as a replacement. So as a way to get started, you would have to invest a lot of money before you could even start competing. So Division B allows you to start competing earlier and get valuable experience, and also figure out some mistakes in your robots earlier, so you don't have to buy parts for 16 robots that all don't work. Also, the rules are kind of adjusted to the smaller field, and also the rules are a bit simpler kept in Division B, so you can also there start as a team without having to have perfected all the interactions with the human referee and the auto ref and everything that's there.
So another special thing about the SSL League is our robot. It must conform to the dimensions that are specified in the rules. So it must have a diameter of a max of 180 millimeters and a height that is a max of 150 millimeters. Before the competition, we will go and measure the robots from each team to make sure that they fit in this category. And another question that usually comes up is, how does our robot kick? So in the bottom arrow, it shows a little piece behind the orange ball, and that is the kicker. All teams can implement it differently, but this is usually how it's done. It's a small pistol that will push out and will like hit the ball. There are two types of kicks that are allowed in our league. We have the normal kick, that's just like straightforward kick, and we have the chip kick, which is a high kick, which is used to pass the ball when there's like a robot in front of you, or in other situations depending on your strategy. And another thing that our robot has is the dribbler. The top arrow is pointing to a yellowish silicone thing. So this usually spins and it helps keep the ball close to the robot. It's not allowed to trap the ball and like literally trap it inside the robot. There's some dimensions that the ball has to be outside, but it helps a lot in keeping the ball close to the robot. Here we have a video showing the dribbler. Oh, wait. Okay, here it goes. So this is Jin League. This team is Jin League. So they're testing the dribbler, and as you can see, the robot is rotating, and the ball is still very attached to the robot, and the velocity keeps increasing, and the ball is still there. This is very useful for strategy. Jin League is known for having a very good dribbler, and yeah, as you can see, it's really impressive. Here we have the testing while going around, not just rotating. And the robot moves freely and the ball still continues with the robot. Yeah, in the game, this is very useful. It's a nightmare for the other teams. And here we have an example of the robot being able to take the ball away from another robot and then using it to score for, as the example shows here. So another thing that is very special about the robots in SSL is that they usually have omnidirectional movement. So as you can see, the wheels, they rotate, they have the normal rotation, but they also have smaller wheels that allow them to rotate, to move perpendicular. So this gives the robot freedom to move in any direction. If you just have like the robot on the floor, you can move it literally in any direction. And this is very special to SSL because it allows movement to be much easier than, for example, the Now robot, where you have to think about how it moves. And having this easily moving robot allows us to focus more on developing strategy and how the robot is going to work in the field rather than how it's going to move individually. Now, this is a video of a Div B game in Sydney, if I'm not mistaken. It's RoboEmir against Ultron. And here you can see the chip kick, the high kick that's used especially by the goalies. And here we have a Division A game. As you can see, the field is much bigger. And in this gameplay, we have a show of a pass done by two robots, and in the end, they score the goal.
So, how does the whole system work? We already teased that it's a hybrid, centralized, decentralized system. So, in SSL, we have some cameras above the field who are taking pictures of the whole situation all the time. These cameras are league-owned, so they connect to a league-run computer that evaluates all these positions. And after that, the positions are sent out to the teams. The positions are also sent to the automatic referee, because also the automatic referee needs to know where everybody is and everything is. And teams are then allowed to do on their team computer whatever they like. However, they are not allowed to touch the team computer during the match. So during the match, the computer has to run everything autonomously. It then communicates by wireless communication. We assign different wireless channels during the matches, and so there will be these team computers communicating with their robots, and we don't specify what they're talking about. They can talk about whatever they like, and then the robots are, well, interacting with the ball and hopefully scoring some goals. That's the same, well, blow up, I think, but in a picture instead of schematics. So we can again see the cameras on the top there. It's kind of hard to see. The robots on the field are easy to see, and the teams also have their computers. That's also, well, not really special. We want to focus on the left-hand side today, because these are the league part, the things that are closer part of the league. So we have one PC that's running SSL Vision, which is our league-owned open source vision program that does all the conversions. There's a human referee on the field who's always going to be there and always supervising the match. And then there is one PC that's running the game controller and the autoref, and that's why we're starting our tour today. So that's a picture of one of the autorefs. The job of the autoref is to autonomously control the game, check all the rules, and hand out the correct, well, reactions if someone infringes on the rules. These autorefs are built by some of our teams. So Tigers and ER4s are both building one autoref. This is Tigers autoref. And these autorefs then send their, well, decision to another program that we'll see later, the game controller. So one of the interesting questions is, why do we actually have an autoref? Like, why we already have a human referee. What's the purpose of this computer program? A computer program is much better at detecting some of our rules. Especially we have rules about you're not allowed to drive too quickly in some situations, and the ball mustn't accelerate over a specified velocity. And both of these things are really hard to see as a human. Also, the field is getting bigger every time I look at it. And these big fields make it really hard as a referee to see everything that's happening everywhere. You, as a human, tend to focus on a situation that you think is going to be important, like where the ball is currently, or maybe you have some expertise and know that the defense is going to be particularly prone to fouls in this situation, but you will always focus on one place. And the computer is much better at checking the rules for every robot on every inch of the pieces on the carpet. The other option that the autoref offers, which is kind of hard for a human too, is they have a perfect memory of what happened. So I can just scroll back a bit if I really need to discuss some special case that happened because teams are complaining that one of the teams did a mistake there. The autoref can supply me with a neutral review of what happened a few seconds ago, so I can take a look at it and I can see, well, yes, that was a foul, or no, it wasn't.
We also, as said previously, have a human referee in all matches. And the main objective of the human referee is to take over if anything happens. So, for example, if the autoref seems to be not working or there's something going on, the human referee will be there to take over and continue the match usually. And also, as Toby said, we have two autorefs, and sometimes the autorefs, they don't agree with each other, so they might call out different events. And the referee is there to look at it and decide which one is the more correct option. As Toby also said, we have a big difference between the div A and div B in terms of using the autoref. So in div A, the referee is plays more of an observant part. The idea is to have the autoref run the games, and the referee is only to interfere in these kind of situations. However, in div B, we usually play the matches without the autoref, so the referee has a much more important role. He or she will have to call out all the commands, so stop the game, continue the game, keep track of time to make sure we're on track for the duration of the game, also place the ball correctly, and make all the decisions in the game. So yeah, div B refs usually have a much more intense role during the game.
So now that's the game controller. That's the interface that the referee and also the auto refs are using to communicate with the teams. So one of the things that I said earlier was that teams are not allowed to touch their team computers during a match. So they need to get the information that the referee is calling out, like the game has started or the game is over or that was a goal. This information needs to get to the teams and especially to the team computers. And that's one of the purposes of the game controller, because this allows the human referee with their assistant who's sitting on that screen and interacting with the buttons to tell all participating teams and the auto refs what the new state of the game is. So they can tell, well, there was a foul, we need to interrupt the game now. They can tell that was a goal, we need a kickoff, and everything else that's necessary for that. It's also the interface that's used by the auto refs. The auto refs do not decide on their own because we have multiple of them and they might disagree. So the game controller takes in all these suggestions and, depending on configuration, proceeds and offers them as the new reality, or maybe just discards them and says, well, one auto ref said, but we decided this rule is unreliable, so it's turned off. Or maybe we play a Division B match and we turned off multiple rules because they interfere with the way we play the match. We also hope that the game controller is set up to interact with many auto refs, so we can set up something like a majority protocol that says, well, if two auto refs disagree, that's bad, but if we have a third one, that could be a tiebreaker. But currently we only have two, so that's not really an option, but we still can continue to say that an automatic suggestion what has happened is going to be accepted if both automatic referees agree, and otherwise it's just there as a suggestion and the human referee is supposed to take sides. And then that's the last piece. This is the SSL Vision System, which is a shared open source project of our league. The SSL Vision System supervises one or many cameras who are watching the field from above, as you can see in this picture. These cameras are evaluated on their own independently, so there is no 3D reconstruction in overlapping areas. Each camera is evaluated completely individually, completely on their own. So we do two steps in this process. First, we do a mapping that you can see here in this picture, where we map more or less every pixel of that camera, and you can also see it's kind of curved because cameras are weird. We map every pixel of the camera to some place on the field. So we can say, well, if a robot is at this pixel, that means he's at that coordinate. And then in a second step, that's we're doing all the time during the match. This pre-calibration only needs to occur once. On a second step, we evaluate all the colors and look them up in a color map. And if the color fits the color map, then we accept this as one of our colors we're looking for. The colors we are looking for is a blue, the pink and the green you can see on top of the robots, the yellow, which you can also see on top of the robots, and an orange, which you're using for the ball. These pixels are then looked up in a color map, and if it matches, well, we are building the desired object. For the ball, that's easy because it's just one spherical thing with one color. For the robots, we have this system here with an ID from 0 to 15 that allows us to specify the robots. So we have 15 robots per team. They are identified with these pink and green identifier. And the ID will always be connected to these dots. So the robot number 9 will always have the 4 pink dots. The central dot is the team identifier. So during a match, you will always be able to see there will be some robots in blue and other robots will be having the yellow color. And while teams try to do more to distinguish themselves from the opposing team, it's not always easy. And this is the thing that the software uses, so this is the thing that always will happen. There will always be a blue team and a yellow team. And so if you look at a match and don't know who's playing against whom, look at the central dot of these patterns. To make sure these colors fit to our color map that we described earlier, we need to make sure that everyone uses exactly the same colors. And that's only possible if we are supplying them with that. So one of the first steps we are doing in setting up a competition is we are going to some store and buy these color papers in blue, in yellow, in green, and in pink. And then we will ask all teams, these colors work with this system, with the lightning and everything set up like that. And so please use these patterns, and they will have to use the color paper and build the patterns for that competition.
And besides having to be able to play, the robots, they also need to follow the rules, just like in a normal soccer game. We do have some rules that are very similar to the soccer ones. So for example, if the ball leaves the field area, it is out of bounds. The robot that last touched the ball is the one responsible for committing that fault. So it's given to the other team. The ball is given to the other team. We also have halftime, just like in a normal soccer game. We will have our first half, then we'll have a little break between, and then we'll have the second half. During this break, the teams are allowed to mess around with the robots, fix anything, fix the code. As Toby said, during the game, we are not allowed to actually touch the computers, but during halftime and timeouts, teams are allowed to make any corrections they want. So the halftime is the perfect time to fix anything you saw that is not working during the game. We also have faults due to aggression. So if a robot collides with another one, it's considered foul play, and the robot that collided is given a fault, and the other team will take the ball, just like in a soccer game. You're also allowed to exchange players. So if a robot of yours is kind of faulty, it's not in the mood to play, you can request to have it changed and put another robot in its place. We have penalties too. So if by the end of the time of the match, it's still a draw, and it's like a game that requires you to have a winner, we will have penalties. And it will be remote, just similar to the one in the soccer. We'll have a goalie and we'll have an attacker, and they will try to score. And we also have red and yellow cards. So if a team has done a lot of faults, they can receive a yellow card. In that case, one robot has to stay out for the duration of 1 minute. And if they continue to make a lot of faults, they will get a red card, which means that they will have one less robot for the entire duration of the game. And we do have some rules that are specific to the fact that we're playing with robots. So a double touch is actually also in normal soccer, but it's not such an issue for a human to be able to pass the ball to another person. But in the case of the robots, it's very common for them to commit the double touch fault. So it's when the ball is given to the other team and they have like possession of it, they can only touch the robot that's gonna have the kick, can only touch it once. So it should touch it to give it to another robot or to the enemy robot, but it cannot touch the ball twice. Another rule we have is carpeting. Our field is very small compared to a real soccer field. So something that can be used as a strategy is just to try to kick the ball from wherever you are towards the goal. And this is not the idea that we want. We don't want to develop an AI that just kicks toward a position. We want an AI that develops play. So if the ball is kicked by a robot and it passes the middle line and a goal line, it's considered carpeting and it's a fault. So the ball is awarded to the other team. And a command that we have that it doesn't exist in real soccer is the halt command. So if things seem to be going really wrong, all the robots are doing random things and we don't know exactly what's going on, we give the halt command in which all the robots must stop. They shouldn't move. They should just stay where they are. This is used when there's a lot of discussion that needs to go on in a match, or there's an issue and we have to see what's going on. We will give the halt command as it helps keep the robots where they are and not moving. So enough talking, let's see some actual game. This is the Tigers qualification video, and if I'm not mistaken, it's from the videos from RoboCup 2019 in Sydney. Yeah, 2019. So this is a match between Tigers and I forgot what it said, but if I'm not mistaken, it's Is it ER4? No,
it's RoboDragons.
It's RoboDragons. And here we can see, as Toby said, there's the yellow robots and the blue robots. Tigers is playing as blue, and RoboDragons is playing as yellow. And here we can see, for example, the ball placement. This is this A game. So the robot has to place the ball correctly before kicking it. So yeah, the ball is placed, and then the game is continuing. And as you can see, like the robots, they move very fast, and they are everywhere all at the same time. It's really dynamic. And yeah, Tiger scored a goal using a pass. Well, many passes. So all we talked about before was like a game, but we have other events that are not just games. We have the technical challenge, and these are sub-tournaments that are used to develop more sophisticated robots and systems. So if we want to try to incorporate something new or just test something, we usually don't want to test that during the game, because the game is like a soccer game. We want to keep it as much as a soccer game as we can. So we develop these sub-tournaments in order to be able to test new things. This year, we're going to have 3. They are the Blackout Challenge, the Ball Placement Challenge, and the Dribbling Challenge.
So for the ball placement challenge, we want to encourage teams to explore some local sensing capabilities rather than the off-board computer and global vision system that we already have. The idea is primarily based on a few shortcomings of the global vision system. The global vision system is great because we always know everything in relation to everything else, but having cameras like 6 meters above the playing field doesn't give for good resolution. So for the last inches of getting to the ball for exactly the correct positions, it's kind of not that great. It's also a bit slow compared to having some local sensing loop, and it has some situations where the robots are shadowing the ball. And for all of these situations, it would be great if robots would have some local vision capabilities so they could do these things in specified circumstances on their own. So we will be turning off the global vision system for the Blackout challenge. Good. Thanks. So we will be turning off the global vision system for the Blackout challenge. There will be no camera over the field anymore. So the robots will have to do some sensing their own. It's on the team's decision if they want to send the information back to their computer, or if they want to the robot do everything individually. They can certainly do both. As a compromise to getting teams interested in this kind of challenge, we are lifting some of the requirements that are normally there during a normal match. So the robots can exceed the height or even some of the other physical restrictions that we have on a robot, because it's always kind of hard to ask of a team to build some specialized hardware just for this one technical challenge that they can't really use in a normal game yet. So we want to make it as easy as possible, and for that, teams will have the option to build higher than they normally would. Also, they don't need a pattern anymore because the vision will be turned off anyways. The pattern isn't going to be of any use to anyone. To make the competition, well, interesting, we start with increasing difficulty on these challenges. So we will start on just you're a robot, you're left on the field, try to find the ball. Then try to touch it and do some useful manipulation with that. Then we will try to let them score at an empty goal. And we're also planning to do some passing for this year. All of these tasks are kind of easy if you have a global vision system, or at least most of our teams are already quite capable of doing them. turning off the glow vision still makes them considerably more hard. Which is a good thing, because that's the point of a technical challenge, doing something that is kind of new.
So here we have a video of Tiger's technical challenge of the Blackout one. So yeah, the first part is just to grab the ball. So as you see, the robot doesn't have the pattern on top anymore, so that way we're not able to identify using the vision. And here it's rotating, trying to find the ball first. And then when it finds it, it goes towards the ball and grabs it. And here the same thing, this is the longest distance. So they found the ball and they move all the way towards it and touch it. So the second part is being able to score. So they see the ball, they get the ball, they find the goal, and they score. Here they rotate to find the ball, go towards the ball, and look for the goal. And here we have the longest distance for this challenge. And the third stage is to score with a suspender. So now, besides only finding the goal, they need to be able to pick the right spot to shoot the ball at. And the position of the defender also increases the difficulty with every step. So yeah, see this one, didn't manage to get it past. So the ball placement challenge is a challenge that is only for Division B teams. And the objective of it is to encourage Division B teams to develop the skills that they need to play in Division A. So as stated previously, we have different rules for Division B, as it's supposed to help teams get started into SSL. And one of the rules is that the robot doesn't need to do the ball placement. So when the ball leaves the field, or if some fault happens, the referee can be the one who actually puts the ball in place and then continues the game. However, in Division A, all teams should be able to place the ball correctly where it's supposed to. So this challenge is only for just B teams, and it's supposed to help them just try to develop these skills, especially since they don't necessarily have to use it during the match. So how does the robot will start in the middle line of the field. We will have, again, multiple scenarios, and it's given 30 seconds. So we give like 30 start time. It'll have 30 seconds to go get the ball from wherever it is and place it in the correct location. Here we have a video from last year's RoboCup. It was a virtual RoboCup, so all of these happened in the lab of the team. Let me put it in the correct time. So here we have the robot. You can see it's the little blue thingy, and the ball is in a position. So that is the initial position of the ball. The challenge started. So we're telling where the robot needs to put the ball. So the robot is trying to get it. So it got the ball out of the outer part of the field, and it's moving it towards the correct location. And here, yeah, the position was placed correctly, so the challenge, this section of the challenge ended.
So, and the last technical challenge we're going to have this year is the dribbling challenge. You already saw one team showing off their dribbler and their impressive capabilities to control the ball during the match. And that's great, but there are really only a few teams who can do that currently in our league, and we want more teams to be able to experiment with ideas how to use a dribbling device during a match. So in order to give teams some additional reason to improve their dribbling systems, we designed this dribbling challenge. The general idea is that you are supposed to start in position, and there are static obstacles that don't move. And you start in possession of the ball, and you're supposed to drive the ball approximately along the path that is lined in this document, and you have to pass through all these different gates while doing so. You can lose possession of the ball in between. It's not a problem. You just have to get possession again, drive through all these different gates, and at the end, as soon as you've done all these mandatory steps, that your time will be taken and the quickest robot wins. This is also a repeat of last year's challenge. We had this challenge last year. However, last year with the virtual competition, we had to restrict ourselves to a quite small field, so any team could participate, even if they don't have a large field at home. This year, we will hopefully have all the same field, so we will all be in Thailand, we will all be playing on the same field. So expect a different setup for the gates you want to pass, and how they are. Maybe they are curved, maybe there's some interesting that we'll do on the field with that. But the general idea will stay the same. Teams should improve on their dribbling capabilities so they can just drive through this parkour, like you saw in the video of Jin Licht. They don't lose the ball all the time like happened last year.
So here we have the challenge that was done last year by Tigers. Let me put the correct time. So, oh no. There we go. So the dribbling challenge. So we have the static obstacles, and the robot has to get the ball through the gates. And in this case, the robot did not lose the ball. And yeah, we had to go 3 times through the last one. So that I think was the test one. This is the official one, if I'm not mistaken. And even though we've shown that, as Toby said, we're doing it again because not many teams are able to control their dribble very well. Last year, if I'm not mistaken, only 2 teams managed to finish this complete cycle. So it's an ability that we do want teams to get better at, since it's very useful during the game. And Tigers, if I'm not mistaken, implemented 2 possibilities for it. So this was the fast one, and the other ones were just more guaranteed that the robot would be able to finalize. And now we're going to open for questions from anyone. I can't see the people, so I don't know how to answer questions.
Okay, so we're gonna take questions from the audience. So if you have any question, just raise your hand, and then the host will be unmute your mic, so you can ask the question. So if you have questions, please feel free to raise your hand, please. We don't have any. I don't see any hand raised, but I have a question. So in RoboCup in Bangkok this year, what would be, if I am an audience coming to the events, what would the expectation, what I'm gonna see for the SSL competition? How many teams are gonna compete, and then in Division A and Division B?
So we're not sure exactly how many teams are going to compete, as we are still in the process of qualifying teams. But usually it's around 20 teams that sign up, right, Toby?
Sounds good.
And usually I think 7 in Div A and normally the rest in Div B.
I think we are aiming for 8 in Division A, but yeah.
I see.
Also, especially for Division A matches where the field is very large, you should always try to have at least part of your eye on the status board that we didn't show in this presentation. But there is a big screen there's going to be a big screen on all the SSL matches where you can see how the game is, like how many goals for each side, and also what the last few referee commands were. So if you're like confused why the robots aren't acting the way you think they should, why they are giving way to other robots, for example, you should always take a look at the status board and see if maybe some fouls were committed. That could be a reason for that.
Because
And the
SSL is one
RoboCup
of the.
itself is.
Oh. Yes, please. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Please go on. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that the RoboCup is also like one of the few opportunities usually teams have to play in a field of the correct size, because the size of especially Division A field is really big. So we try to maximize the use of all the fields as much as we can. So if you stop by, you probably see or a game or some teams testing out things in the field. So we always have something going on.
Okay. So, do we have any question from the audience right now? Not quite yet. Is there any questions? No. I have a question. So the Division B field is half size of the Division A. Would Division A and B gonna be in the same field but just play half of it, or it's gonna be a separate field?
No, it's going to be 2 separate fields, because we need to be able to play a Division A match and a Division B match at the same time. Otherwise, the competition won't end.
I see.
Otherwise, we won't have a winner until you need to announce it. So that would not be good.
Okay.
And today we had 1 Division A field and 2 Division B fields. So usually the Division B field, the second one, or it was used for technical challenges or friendly matches between teams or testing. Teams can book this other field for their use. I think they have like 1 hour or half an hour per day to use it.
I see. So is the goal of the SSL to always increasing the size of the field? So maybe next year it's going to be like the both side of the Division A. It's going to be something like that. Or what do you think?
It depends. I think it depends if venues are going to be able to support that. Because I would like to increase the size of the field again. But currently, the space that SSL would take up in such a situation is just excessively large. And I don't think organizers are going to be very happy if we announce that change.
I see.
And then we also did an analysis that we thought about increasing the field size when we went to 11 robots. This is actually, if I'm not mistaken, the first physical RoboCup that we're going to have 11 robots. And we thought about doubling the size again. But when we compare, because our robot is it's not big, it's kind of small. And if we compare the area the robots take up compared to like a human soccer, the ratio is not that bad right now. Of course we should increase it, but given that it's costly to increase it, we thought it was better for it, at least in this first try, to leave it the same size.
Okay, and you said that the technical challenge is to try a new technology that you may want to incorporate it in the future RoboCup. So you said that you want to try the local vision on that. So that means that maybe in the next year we're going to move toward to the local visions.
I don't think the Blackout challenge is going to replace the global vision, because the global vision already does some important normalizing. So you always know where everything is in relation to everything else. The thing where local sensing comes into play is requiring less and less accuracy of that global vision, because robots are able to see the ball themselves when they're close. Or maybe having less complaints about shadows, where some areas of the field are not perfectly visible. That's the plan that we are hoping to solve with these local sensing applications. We're not going to replace the global vision, because that would make SSL like a different league, a completely different league, and we are not interested in that, at least currently.
Okay. And how about the dimension of the robot? So you're increasing the size of the field. How about the size of the robot? Is it going to stay this size?
I don't think we have any plans on changing the size of the robot for now. It has been the same for quite a while, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's also one of the challenges, right? Is being able to fit everything inside the robot. So sometimes you will have to compensate on having a smaller battery to fit everything you want, or if you want a bigger battery, you might have to remove some of the components you actually want. So there's not in our plans, but it's always, in the future, we never know what will happen.
There's a joke in my team where they say, well, it's easy to build a big robot. Because you always have all the space if you have a big robot.
Right. You don't have to squeeze everything into like one cylinder that big. Yeah. Because the reason why I asked, because I was compete in SSL in maybe 2004, I think, and I saw the robot. I remember robot that size, and then this year's size it should be the same. So I kind of like, this field is bigger, but the robot is the same. So yeah. Okay, so we still don't have a question from the audience. So maybe just a general suggestion to the team, like if they want to compete in the SSL or like get qualified for this, what would be the what would be the things that you look into when you qualify the team?
Well, the deadline being in like 4 days, you really should start working now. Because we are going to recognize it if you're just preparing something in the last 2 minutes. You should be working yesterday if you want to be qualified for this year's competition.
Yeah, we do have a qualification process, because we want to guarantee that the games are actually like games. We don't want stale games like robots just there lying. That's not very good for the team for trying to test their AI and all their things that they developed all year, and also to the spectators who want to go there and see games, not see just robots flying around. So to qualify for the SSL, you have to write a TDP, we call it, called Team Description Paper, talking about your robot, what intelligence you developed, if you have anything new. In the case of a new team, they will have to like exemplify how they built their new robot. And you also have to send a video of your robot playing or moving around, being able to like kick the ball, and in order to for us to guarantee that the robot can come into the game and play something. So those are our requirements, and we have a peer review process where all the 3 teams will read your paper and will analyze how well it's written, how the technologies that you use, if it makes sense, if you're saying something that doesn't make sense at all. And given the reviews from your peers, we will decide if you have qualified or not to participate in the RoboCup.
I also want to mention that you can also lose your qualification for, not being good at your review, maybe not doing your review process properly, missing important deadlines, annoying the organizing committee. There are ways to lose your qualification even if you did a good paper.
Okay, and the team that participated in last year is not going to automatically qualify for the next year, right? They have to do it over again.
It's easier to
every
supply you
year
with a
you have to
video of
submit.
it's easier to find a video of you playing if you played in last RoboCup, because then you can take that video. But apart from that, you have to do it all year, every year.
It's because we also expect the teams that played last year to have developed new things from what they learned or from the goals that they want to reach. So the paper serves exactly for that, for them to show what new things they added to their robots, and so also to give the other teams like an idea of what new technologies they can develop for their robots too. So it's about like sharing information and seeing how our league progresses.
Okay. So we have a few minutes left, so maybe I'm gonna ask both of you to leave some few remarks for all the teams or the audience that gonna see you guys compete in Bangkok in this year. So just a few remarks, closing remarks for them. Or maybe other questions would be better. Let me think real quick of the questions. Okay, so let's see. So all the I think many teams I can see from the participant list there we have I think future participants in the RoboCup in Bangkok this year. I think from many countries. So I think they are working on their qualifications, videos and papers right now. So if there are any things you want to talk to them about the qualification paper, last minute is there anything you want to tell them?
So please don't do plagiarism. I don't like that. So please cite your references. That would be good. I would like that.
Okay.
I keep it simple. Writing a lot doesn't mean that it's something good. So try to just like describe your system as simply as you can, because it's the way that teams are going to get information or get references for building their own things. So overcomplicating things is not going to help anyone.
And especially if English is not your native language, stick to simple English. If we can't understand what you're saying, that's not good.
Okay, that's good. So yeah, that's a good tip. Yeah. So sometimes, yeah, if we want to write something that looks good, right? Okay, so I think we cover lots of things, and then yeah, so maybe we can close this session now. So I would like to thank you both of you to give us an introduction to the SSL League, and then what would we gonna see in the RoboCup this year. So thank you very much, Tobias and Kala. So thank you very much. So thank you.
You're welcome, and we hope to see everyone in Thailand this year. We're very excited for it.
Yes, very good to see everyone again. It's gonna be fun.
Okay, thank you. I'm excited too. All right, so thank you everyone for listening to our session. So thank you.
อาจารย์คะอยากจะถ่ายรูปอะค่ะ
Oh, okay. So they said they would like to take pictures of us. So okay, just smile. Okay.
Okay ค่ะอาจารย์ขอบคุณค่ะ
Okay. 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 Thank you very much. So and see you in Thailand. All right.
Bye.
Okay. Bye. Okay. Bye.
ค่ะ